Alrighty, everybody, hello and welcome to the Trammel toy creation video. Basically, what we're going to be creating is the base plate. We're going to be creating the top part of the base plate for this video. And so this is the good old Trammel toy here in the assembly. So you can see that lifelike movement, right? And so before we can throw this into the assembly and create all these parts, we've got to create the individual parts, right? And so we're going to be working on that base plate. So what I'm going to go ahead and do is, if you come down here, you'll be able to see the base plate right here. That's what I have created. So we're going to go ahead and create that, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to go into this new part studio that I created. I'm going to right click it, I'm going to rename it, and I'm going to do base plate. I'm just going to put example in here because I'm doing the example, but I would highly suggest you just putting base plate. Just as a reminder, if you don't have the part studio down here, you can just press plus and then do create part studio. That'll create this new tab for you. But anyways, what we're going to be doing is we're going to be going through this, creating this base plate here. So what I'm also going to do is I'm going to bring up the worksheet as well, and so right in here you're going to see all the different values that we can use for this. So this is what we're going to be needing to be referencing. So without further ado, let's go ahead and let's make this happen. So let's see here. First part here. We're going to go ahead and we're going to create this on the top plane, right? So we're going to do a new sketch, and then now what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually set this as a center point rectangle, and then so we're going to go ahead and click somewhere randomly, right? And what we want to do is we want to set this up so that it has the correct dimensions. Now this is saying that it's 4.25 inches by 4.25 inches. So now what we're going to do is I'll just hover over one of these, 4.25. Remember, we're not clicking, just hovering over 4.25, and then what I want to do here is 4.25 instead of 4.2. Accident did that. And so now we've got just the basic overall outline of this, right? So then now next thing that we want to do is we're going to actually create these construction lines right here. So these are the construction lines, right? And so these are going to help us just like know, you know, because basically what this is saying is that this is occurring on the same line, and then it's also occurring on the same line here. So it's basically horizontal, these two lines are to each other, and these two these two circles are horizontal to each other, these two circles are horizontal, and they're also vertical to each other too. So we're going to go ahead and create those construction lines. You can see this is occurring 3.875 inches from the bottom, so we're going to also take note of that. We're going to throw in some other dimensions too. I'm just going to go ahead and click line, then I got to click this construction line right here. I'm just going to click on this line right here, drag it out for a certain distance. Then basically what we're going to do is the same thing once again. We're going to create two lines that are going this way, and then we'll press escape. I'm going to do the same thing again. And then what we're going to do after this is also same thing one more time. Now, as I'm doing this, you'll see that, you know, if I click right here, and then if I click right here, you'll see that this is going to throw a constraint on there. Basically, with that constraint, bottom right of my cursor, you'll see that it's 90 degrees, but then also there's the horizontal. There's a horizontal line on there. It's basically, as you can see, the origin point, this point right here, goes yellow. Whenever I do that, I don't know if it's going to show up again. Yeah, there we go. So it's yellow right now. It's basically saying we're going to put a constraint on there. So we don't want to do that. We just want to set it right here. Anyways, what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and run these dimensions. So I'm going to be kind of quick with this because I am trying to speed run this just so I don't take up too much of y'all's time. But I am going to make sure that we go over the very important parts of this. So 3.875 inches. So we want for that. Now, that would be because I did not dimension that correctly. So give me 1 second. We got to run another dimension in here, boom, and then that needs to be going down here. On accident, I did that, where it went to the middle line there. So then now it's 3.875, very good. Also, as we can note in here, this distance is actually going to be 0.406 inches. So we're going to do 0.406. That's not giving me. There we go. And then now we also want to take note of this dimension as well. And so if I go back in here, we're going to see that it's 2.75 inches. So we're going to type it 2.75, which was actually already pretty close there. Next thing that we're going to want to do is I'm also going to want to dimension this from over here. So this is 1.656 inches right there. And then also what you're going to notice now is that this is not going all the way. So all I got to do is just click and drag this out. That'll bring these out a little bit more. Other dimensions that we need to throw on here for these lines are none. So what I'm going to go ahead and do is I'm going to start creating these circles. So now as you can see there are 1, 2, 3, 4 different circles. You go down here, you can see the different hole measurements. So what we've got is 0.23 here, and then 0.177. 0.177 and then 0.191. So we're going to go ahead and run those. So we're going to go ahead and create this. Now this is 0.23 inches, what we said. I'm going to also create another circle that's over here. I think this was the 0.177. And now as you'll notice as I'm creating these, I'm actually not putting them on that line in the center just quite yet, because I'm wanting to show you all some constraints, some geometric constraints is what they're called. This one we're going to do 0.191 inches. Okay, so now geometric constraints, they are up here, and basically what we want to do is, this is just very similar to like if both of us would end up showing up at the grocery store on a Saturday, right? It'd be we're at the same time, same place, and what we would say is, wow, what a coincidence that we're both at the same spot at the same time, right? So it's basically the same thing with geometrical features. So like this circle, this is a geometric or constraint, or sorry, coincident geometrical constraint. So the coincident will actually make this center appear the same place as this line, right? So now if I click on the center again, I click on this line, see how that puts it right in the center? So basically that's what we want to do with this coincident constraint. We want to make that center coincident with both of these lines, this center coincident with that line as well as this line, and then this center coincident with this line as well as this line. So now as you can see, that's basically set up. And if we look at these, you'll notice that these did become black. That means that they're fully constrained. So now if I try to move them, they're not going to do that. Same thing with these lines as well. The corners of this, though, you'll see that we can drag that out. That's because this doesn't have an overall dimension for this line on it. And we really don't need that, so we're not going to do that. Next thing that we want to do is I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to create this little cutout right here. Now this was by using the dial caliper, I was able to find out what that distance is. So I'm going to go ahead and run a distance right on here. What we also want to focus on is I did make sure that I clicked on this line and then ran that. So that means that this is coincident. So if I hover over this, it does mean that this is coincident, as you can see. So this line right here is coincident with this line because it's both basically occur at the same place. And so now I'm going to dimension this. The dimension for this is actually 1.73 inches. That's what we've got. And then what we have also got on here is we do need the height of this as well. So give me just 1 second. I'll find that height. So this is going to be from, let's see here if they have it on here or not. No, they Ooh, let's see here. Actually, yes, they do. Okay, so this is 0.5 inches, half of an inch. So what we can do is just go ahead and dimension that out. So let's do this. This is half an inch, 0.5 inches. And then if we also zoom out here, what we also know is that this bottom line right here occurs 3.25 inches away from the base of this. So then we're going to go ahead and run that in there. 3.25 inches, and then now we've got that correctly put in there. The other thing that we're going to want to do is also set up this line right here. So we've got basically the center of this. We can end up just creating a circle and then dimension it from the center point. It's going to be 2.875 inches though for that, and then 0.85 for that top part. So let's go ahead and let's create a circle. I'm going to place it in the general correct area, and then if I look on here, it's 0.2 inches, so we're going to type in 0.2, and then now this is where we're going to want to locate this hole in the correct spot. So this hole needs to be 0.85 is what it says on here. Whenever we measured it out, it did become 0.762. So we're going to take that into consideration. We might end up having to move this over a little bit more. Let's see here, so 0.85, we're going to put that in there. Just remember, you might have to move this hole over whenever you're going through this and adding in the assembly. Also, you have this 2.875, so from this center point down to right here, this is 2.875, okay? So then now this hole is put in there correctly. Next part we want to do is add in these 4 circles and then also this little square guy down here. Let's go ahead and let's do this square guy. It'll be pretty easy. It's 1.25 inches by 1.25 inches. Also note it occurs, this line right here occurs 0.406 inches away from this line. So let's go ahead and do that 1.25 by 1.25 square. So I'm just going to use this. I'm not using the center point rectangle this time, but I could have 1.25. Instead I used the, what's that, 2 corners, corner rectangle tool. Now I'm going to go to the dimension tool. I'm going to run this dimension. If you remember correctly, it is 0.406 inches. And then also right here, 0.406 inches, 0.406. Bam. So now we've got that created. The last part that we're going to do for this is we need to create the 4 lines that are over here. So it's kind of similar to what we had before. If you press L and Q, that will toggle the line tool as well as the construction line. So we can do that. Basically, after each time that I create this, I just press escape to get out of there again. Then L and Q, because we got to create this. And then escape again, LQ, then create this guy. Bam, escape again, and then now what we need to do is dimension this. You press D on the keyboard, that'll dimension it out for you. And basically what I'm wanting to do is this line right here occurs 2.75 inches away from there, and then this guy, this line right here to right here, this occurs 3.875, so 3.875 inches away. And then also this guy right here from the bottom here is 0.375. And then this guy from the top here to right here, that's 1.5 inches. So we are pretty close there too, but we just got to move that a little bit. So now you'll see that everything in here basically is black except for these blue lines because we can't extend those. But then what we also need to do is add in these circles in here finally. And so if I actually hover over this, as you can see, there are the 2 coincident constraints to the bottom right of my cursor. In that case, it would mean that that circle would be coincident to both of those lines. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to give this some extra practice. I'm going to create these 4 circles again, and then we're going to manually do the coincident constraint. But if you want to try out what I was just saying, you totally can, save you some time. 0.23, 0.177. So let's go through here, press D, dimension. This is 0.23. This is 0.177, which was also pretty close there. We're going to also do this 0.177, and then this one was the 0.191, I believe. Let's go ahead and check. But yeah, 0.191. How did I know that? Because it's the same right here. So anyways, we're going to go ahead and do the coincident constraint. Remember, we're going to make that center coincident with this line, then with this line. Same thing right here. Boom. Make it coincident with this line. Same thing right here. Boom. Coincident with this line. Bam. Coincident with this line. And then coincident with this line here. Okay, sweet. So then now, as you can see, we've got all of our features in here for the top plate. And so now what I'm going to go ahead and do is press the green check mark. So then now our sketch has been created. And then so now what we want to do is we want to actually extrude this. So if I click right here, you'll see all of these parts on the inside. Those are being selected. If I extrude it, it will leave all the holes empty. That's exactly what we want. And what we want to do is we want to dimension this out. We want to extrude it out. The depth of this, which it says that the total depth is 0.48, so that means half of that would be 0.24, right? So we're going to go ahead and press the green check mark, and then now we will have our top plate created. What I can also do here, remember, is I can always change the color of this so I can make it appear a little bit more wood-like, right? So let's see here, maybe something like this. That would be looking pretty good. And then what I'm going to rename this is I'm going to make this the top plate. Oops, don't want to go to properties. Just rename, and then we're going to put top plate in here, okay? Next video, I'm going to be showing you how to create the bottom plate. So hang tight until the next video. See y'all there.